1 year after 8-year-old Gabriel Fernandez was tortured and beaten to death in his home, one of the social workers fired over the case is speaking out only to CBS 2 News. Cristy Fajardo has her story and whether that social worker feels any responsibility at all for what happened.
I have thought of nothing else.
She doesn't want her face shown or her real name used. We've also disguised her voice.
I have been sad and outraged.
But this woman, we'll call Mary, has been in the news for the last year.
Questioned myself, how come I didn't know more?
She is one of 4 social workers fired after 8-year-old Gabriel Fernandez was beaten to death, allegedly by his own mother, Pearl Fernandez, and her boyfriend, Isauro Aguirre, last May. Gabriel was left in their custody despite call after call alleging abuse. Now Mary is speaking out for the very first time.
Do you think you let him down or that you share any of the responsibility?
No. Well, I want to say no. I believe no. I'm sure that would make people unhappy with me, but, you know, I did the best I could with what I had.
We wanted to know why the system didn't protect the little boy who loved Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and whose teacher proudly wrote he's getting an award for reading. So we took the LA County Department of Children and Family Services to court to get the file. Hundreds and hundreds of pages of horrifying details. In the hours before his death, Gabriel lay in an emergency room. His skull fractured. He'd been burned, apparently tied up. He was missing skin. He had BB pellets lodged in his lung and scrotum. Even the soles of his feet were bruised and swollen. A physician in the emergency room said someone has pulled out this child's teeth, and it was not a doctor, not a dentist.
I just thought over and over again, how did this happen?
Mary was not the social worker who investigated the reports of abuse, including the complaints from Gabriel's own school. That social worker was also fired. Mary got the case after, when the family was referred to therapy. She says she never saw anything troubling, but on one occasion, Mary spotted a bruise under Gabriel's eye and a BB pellet in his chest.
I asked them about it. And the explanation from Gabriel, brother and sister and mom, her story was that some little kid in the apartment complex, his mom got him a BB gun and he was shooting everything and he, turned around and shot Gabriel. I'm not trained to like an investigator like with the sheriff's department or the FBI that know how to interview and they can see how people lie to them.
Mary's casework shows attempt after attempt to reach Pearl Fernandez. When she did interview the family, in her notes, Mary wrote, "Mother feels overwhelmed with her own emotional pain," then went on to say, "Fortunately, her boyfriend is a positive influence on Mom, and he gets along well with the children." That's the same boyfriend who would later be charged with Gabriel's murder.
Is there anything in hindsight that you now say, oh, I should have known?
I have to say no. I don't know what else I could have done differently because I'm being lied to. They're good. They were good at it.
Mary was no longer on the case when Gabriel was killed. She'd closed her part of the file 3 weeks earlier after the family refused to continue counseling. She does admit to one mistake, a mistake that got her fired. She didn't document all the details of her visits.
I'm not excusing myself for not documenting well. I mean, I did this job for a long, long time. And you get back to the office and you have 15 phone calls. And your statistics are due, and did you see all your kids?
After 17 years with the department, Mary is now unemployed, bankrupt, and in danger of losing her home. She agreed to talk to us to make this point. She feels there are too many cases, too much paperwork, and not enough time, and says she and others who were fired were overworked, undertrained, then scapegoated.
We don't get supported, we get accused, and it feels like they don't care. That's the tragedy of the whole system.
I don't think that we would be ever trying to scapegoat any of the employees.
We took her claims to DCFS Director Philip Browning.
The new training program does incorporate law enforcement in that.
He says the department is also hiring 450 new staff members to reduce caseloads. We asked how so many people could miss the signs. He said he can't comment on specifics of the case or personnel issues, but did speak generally.
If all of our workers will use common sense, critical thinking, and accept accountability, I think we'll have much better outcomes.
4 people were fired, so do they all lack those 3 things?
Well, in this specific case, as you know, I can't get into the details.
In the weeks leading up to his death, a security guard called police, not believing Gabriel's bruises were caused by falling off his dirt bike, like his mom stated. The sheriff's department tells us a deputy went to the home and said he didn't find any evidence of abuse. The file suggests it was never reported to DCFS.
This was a tragedy, but I did not kill that little boy. I don't feel guilty. Well, I do feel guilty. I can't help it because even though the job was killing me, I liked my job.
In Palmdale, Cristy Fajardo, CBS 2 News.
Gabriel's mother and her boyfriend are each facing 1 count of capital murder with a special circumstance allegation of torture.